Krishna, give us some
chapter
nectars.
Yes.
Give us some banger lines here.
Hare
Laughing
Krishna.
ecstasy.
Where is this? Oh, there's a whole chapter.
Yeah, part 4.
Jai. I think when I was reading this with Radha Damodar, I did not finish it, but I almost did.
Mm-hmm. I really like this book. It's like, I
Let's
call
see.
it the devotee handbook.
Yeah. I think I definitely got to the qualities of Krishna. That was a long chapter for me.
Bookmark it.
And yeah, I was almost there, maybe like 100 pages away from finishing. Got 3/4 through. Chapter 2, page 19. The first stages of devotion. This is reading Nectar of Devotion, summary study of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, originally compiled by Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, later translated into English by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Right.
The 3 categories of devotional service, which Srila Rupa Goswami describes in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, are listed as devotional service in practice, devotional service in ecstasy, and devotional service in pure love of Godhead. There are many subheadings in each of these 3 categories. Generally, it is understood that in the category of devotional service in practice, there are 2 different qualities. Devotional service in ecstasy has 4 qualities, and devotional service in pure love of God has 6 qualities. All right. These qualities will be explained by Srila Rupa Goswami later on. In this connection, Srila Rupa Goswami suggests that the person eligible for Krishna consciousness or devotional service can be classified by his particular taste. He says that devotional service is a continual process from one's previous life. No one can take to devotional service unless he has had some previous connection with it. For example, suppose in this life I practice devotional service to some extent. Even though it is not 100% perfectly performed, whatever I have done will not be lost. In my next life, from the very point where I stop in this life, I shall begin again. In this way, there is always a continuity. But even if there is no continuity, if only by chance a person takes interest in a pure devotee's instructions, he can be accepted and can advance in devotional service. Anyway, for persons who have a natural taste for understanding books like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, devotional service is easier than for those who are simply accustomed to mental speculation and argumentative processes. To support this statement, there are many authoritative assertions by the learned scholars of bygone ages. According to their general opinion, a person may be governed by certain convictions derived by his own arguments and decisions. Then another person, who may be a greater logician, will nullify these conclusions and establish their thesis.
In this way...
Hold on, I'm still reading. I just was going back. Establish another thesis. I'll finish this out real quick. In this way, the path of argument will never be safe or conclusive. Srimad Bhagavatam recommends, therefore, that one follow in the footsteps of the authorities.
Here is a general description of devotional service given by Sri Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Previously, it has been stated that devotional service can be divided into 3 categories, namely devotional service in practice, devotional service in ecstasy, and devotional service in pure love of God. Now, Sri Rupa Goswami proposes to describe devotional service in practice. Practice means employing our senses in some particular type of work. Therefore, devotional service in practice means utilizing our different sensory organs in service to Krishna. Some of the senses are meant for acquiring knowledge, and some are meant for executing the conclusions of our thinking, feeling, and willing. So practice means employing both the mind and the senses in practical devotional service. This practice is not for developing something artificial. For example, a child learns or practices to walk. This walking is not unnatural. The walking capacity is there originally in the child, and simply by a little practice, he walks very nicely. Similarly, devotional service to the Supreme Lord is the natural instinct of every living entity. Even uncivilized men, like the Aborigines, offer their respectful obeisances to something wonderful exhibited by nature's law, and they appreciate that behind some wonderful exhibition or action there is something supreme. So, this consciousness, though lying dormant in those who are materially contaminated, is found in every living entity, and when purified, this is called Krishna consciousness. There are certain prescribed methods for employing our senses and mind in such a way that our dormant consciousness for loving Krishna will be invoked, much as the child, with a little practice, can begin to walk. One who has no basic walking capacity cannot walk by practice. Similarly, Krishna consciousness cannot be aroused simply by practice. Actually, there is no such practice. When we wish to develop our innate capacity for devotional service, there are certain processes which, by accepting and executing them, will cause that dormant capacity to be invoked. Such practice is called sadhana bhakti.
Just a reflection real quick.
Yeah.
One who has no basic walking capacity cannot walk by practice. So Prabhupada is saying that the child has a propensity to walk, a capacity to walk, and therefore he can walk. That's the only reason why he can walk in the first place, but only through practice can he walk. Whereas another living entity who doesn't have that capacity, like a worm, a tree, they don't have such facilities to accommodate the action of walking, so therefore they can't walk. So he's making the point that there's nothing to be gained from outside of ourselves, because within ourselves is the propensity to love Krishna, to render devotional service to him. And this process is naturally awakened through the purification called Krishna consciousness. But in the same way that a child has to practice to walk, to actually fulfill his capacity, we have to practice our well, it's interesting. How did he say? Because he said Krishna consciousness cannot be aroused simply by practice.
Right.
Actually, there is no such practice. When we wish to develop our innate capacity for devotional service, there are certain processes which, by accepting and executing them, will cause that dormant capacity to be invoked. So it's a matter of getting up and learning how to walk ourselves, and we do that through sadhana bhakti. And we might fall down a few times, and as one falls down learning how to walk, they might become frustrated, they might cry, they might hurt themselves a little bit. This is our experience as we go through the purification of sadhana bhakti, is that it's not fun, it's a challenge, but it's whether it's there's some days where we might be more or less inclined to wake up, go to Mangalarti, chant our rounds, our japa beads, hear Bhagavatam, depending on the influences of the mind, right? There's the senses that gather knowledge, and then there are the senses that execute the thinking, the feeling, the willing. So there's the mind, the intelligence, the false ego. There's the tongue, the ears, the eyes, the touch. So we're gathering in knowledge. Our mind is making conclusions based upon the knowledge that we're taking in, and then we're deeming them either acceptable or unacceptable. This is the mind's job, is to accept and reject, always accepting and rejecting. So one morning we might accept the basis of sadhana bhakti and say, yes, this is right, this feels good, I'm doing what I'm supposed to. But the next day the mind could be completely agitated due to any one of the senses that gather knowledge. It could be the way someone looked at me, it could be just the way something felt when I touched it, it could be the way something smells in the temple, it could be so many things. And then our mind might reject that very same action that we accepted the day previously. So if we go off the basis of the mind, then such sadhana bhakti will be very slow. It'll be a very slow process. of making advancement on. But if we can just accept from a higher intelligence, from a source like such as this, Nectar of Devotion, as we're hearing everything very scientifically explained, that sadhana bhakti is the way for me to invoke this dormant capacity that's since been covered for so long, this everlasting propensity I have to serve God. I can fulfill it through this process of sadhana bhakti. One life, sadhana bhakti, and then that's all it takes to go back to Godhead. And we can make that realization, put that to the forefront of our consciousness, despite whatever our mind is telling us. We can use our intelligence to trump the mind, saying, this is it, this is the only thing to do. Practice the sadhana bhakti, despite whether I want to or not. This is in my best interest. And then we learn how to walk in time. So I'm just trying to make some connections here, mainly for myself, because Prabhupada is laying everything out in such a detailed way here, immediately in this chapter. It's really nice. Anything that comes to your mind?
No, I just really like that reflection. It's good. If the senses aren't controlled, then every time I think of the senses, I think of the horses and the reins. That analogy is given a lot. To have control over the horses, or they'll just throw the car everywhere. So yeah. So
yeah, the senses are said. It's said that the senses are so strong and impetuous. Krishna says, "O Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind, even of a man of discrimination, who's endeavoring to control them. They still carry away, like a boat on the water is carried away by wind. I mean, we can be consciously endeavoring to control our mind and subdue it, but Arjuna says it's more difficult than controlling the wind.
I think of on that note, I think of that one time. I think it's in Gita where Arjuna is like, I can't remember exactly what he says, but he's like, why does a man still sin even though he doesn't want to? He literally, like you're saying, like he doesn't want to do it, but like this is just like, it's crazy.
It's lust only. Lust only, which is born out of contact from the mode of passion, which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world.
Passion?
Yeah. Passion. It's unlimited desire we have to
have unlimited enjoyment.
Yeah. Yes. So such perverted desire for sense enjoyment, this gets in the way of our sadhana bhakti, because the two things conflict one another, right? You can't be doing sadhana bhakti and then at the same time be materially enjoying, because you're putting yourself on a different track when you focus on your sadhana. You're saying, okay, no, I'm consciously moving this direction.
Controlling the mind, controlling the senses.
Controlling my mind. I'm bringing myself back to center. I'm focusing on Krishna, focusing on the goal at hand. It's, stay focused on that.
But what is the solution to this contradictory
between
this sadhana and the senses? What is the answer? How does one strictly just do the sadhana? How does he control those senses?
Controlling the senses it's difficult, but it's possible. It's made possible through constant practice and through detachment. And I've said it maybe a few times that detachment, all that means is attachment. Attachment to Krishna is real detachment from the world. So this is why the devotee can appear to be engaged in material affairs, but really he's on a completely different level. It's because he's doing it with a mindset of Krishna, for Krishna. Because of Krishna, he's giving me the strength. Krishna says, I'm the strength in man. I'm the ability in man. So I'm only made allowed to do what I'm doing because of Krishna. I'm only doing what I'm doing for Krishna. Everything's for Krishna. I'm renouncing the results of my actions, and everything goes to Krishna. And therefore, I'm freed from the from the bondage of my fruit of works. So that's hard to do through any other kind of meditation other than what's been presented to us, which is the best opportunity we'll ever get to go back home, back to Godhead, and that's through chanting the holy name. It's because there's no other process that's so easy and so blissful, and you're engaging all of your senses simultaneously. And when we engage all of our senses simultaneously in the service of our Lord, that's what bhakti means, is to serve the master of the senses.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we have this crazy scientific philosophy really to just get across the point that chanting is the answer. I mean, we need the philosophy, especially, especially people like us who are
to understand,
driven by their mind or intellectually driven, and we need lots of stimulation due to our conditioning, and we need to convince ourselves. We have such little faith that we need the nectar to convince us. And it's great service too. It's enjoyable to read these books, so we can just read the books and have fun with it. But yeah, all this elaborate philosophy to get across one point. Chanting is it. That's the essence. So Prabhupada told Trivikram Maharaj. Chanting is the essence. Yeah. So that's the best I could do to answer your question.
No, that was great, Prabhu. Very good.
Okay, shall we?
Yeah. It's your turn.
Our turn.
Every living entity.
Every living entity under the spell of material energy is held to be in an abnormal condition of madness. In Srimad Bhagavatam 554, it is said, generally the conditioned soul is mad, because he is always engaged in activities which are the causes of bondage and suffering. The spirit soul, in his original condition, is joyful, blissful, eternal, and full of knowledge. Only by his implication in material activities has he become miserable, temporary, and full of ignorance. This is due to vikarma. Vikarma means actions which should not be done. Therefore, we must practice sadhana bhakti, which means to offer mangala arati, deity worship, in the morning, to refrain from certain material activities, to offer obeisances to the spiritual master, and to follow many other rules and regulations which I must hear one after another. These practices will help one become cured of madness of a psychiatrist. So this sadhana bhakti cures the conditioned soul of his madness under the spell of Maya, material illusion. Narada Muni mentions this sadhana bhakti in Srimad Bhagavatam's 7th canto, 1st chapter, verse 32. He says there to King Yudhishthir, my dear king, one has to fix his mind on Krishna by any means. That is called Krishna consciousness. It is the duty of the Acharya, the spiritual master, to find the ways and means for his disciple to fix his mind on Krishna. That is the beginning of sadhana bhakti.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us an authorized program for this purpose, centered around the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. This chanting has so much power that it immediately attaches one to Krishna. That is the beginning of sadhana bhakti. Somehow or other, one has to fix his mind on Krishna. The great saint Ambarisa Maharaja, although a responsible king, fixed his mind on Krishna. And similarly, anyone who tries to fix his mind in this way will very rapidly make progress in successfully reviving his original Krishna consciousness. Now, the sadhana bhakti, or practice of devotional service, may also be divided into two parts. The first part is called service according to regulative principles. One has to follow these different regulative principles by the order of the spiritual master, or on the strength of authoritative scriptures, and there can be no question of refusal. That is called vaidhi, or regulated. One has to do it without argument. Another part of sadhana bhakti is called raganuga. Raganuga refers to the point at which, by following the regular principles, one becomes a little more attached to Krishna and executes devotional service out of natural love. For example, a person engaged in devotional service may be ordered to rise early in the morning and offer arati, which is a form of deity worship. In the beginning, by the order of the spiritual master, one rises early in the morning and offers arti, but then he develops real attachment. When he gets this attachment, he automatically tries to decorate the deity and prepare different kinds of dresses and thinks of different plans to execute his devotional service nicely. Although it is within the category of practice, this offering of loving service is spontaneous. So the practice of devotional service, sadhana bhakti, can be divided into two parts, namely regulative and spontaneous.
I didn't know that. I thought that Raganuga Bhakti was outside of Sadhana Bhakti. But here it's being classified as a part of, because it's in the action of devotional service, the practice of devotional service. It's there too. Interesting. So there's the Vaidhi Bhakti, strict rules and regulations, and then in a short time, just a matter of time, one develops spontaneous affection for the Lord, and he ends up doing all of those same things that he was doing before, but out of his own desire to do so, he does it without having to be told to do so, essentially. Because he sees that, okay, this is the function of my soul, to serve in such a way that is pleasing to the Lord, making him look great in form of deity worship, chanting his holy name nicely and constantly, serving the devotees. Yeah. Rupa Goswami defines the first part of devotional service, or Vaidhi Bhakti, as follows. Quote, when there is no attachment or no spontaneous loving service to the Lord, and one is engaged in the service of the Lord simply out of obedience to the order of the spiritual master, or in pursuance of the scriptures, such obligatory service is called Vaidhi Bhakti. These principles of Vaidhi Bhakti are also described in Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 1st chapter, verse 5, where Shukadeva Goswami instructs the Dai Maharaj Parikshit as to his course of action. Maharaj Parikshit met Shukadeva Goswami just a week before his death, and the king was perplexed as to what should be done before he was to pass on. Many other sages also arrived there, but no one could give him proper direction. Shukadeva Goswami, however, gave this direction to him as follows. My dear king, if you want to be fearless in meeting your death next week, for actually everyone is afraid at the point of death, then you must immediately begin the process of hearing and chanting and remembering God. If one can chant and hear Hare Krishna, and always remember Lord Krishna, then he is sure to become fearless of death, which may come at any moment. This is something to fix our minds on as we're practicing our sadhana, that we don't know how much time we have left. So if I have only 30 more minutes left, how would I want to spend that time? If I'm chanting on my Japamala, and at the end of this round, that's it for me, then am I going to be satisfied with the way I chanted the Lord's holy name? I think about that sometimes. When I'm in proper consciousness, when I'm in awareness that of why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm doing what I'm doing because I'm terrified of death. No matter what kind of front I put up, that's true. I don't know what's going to happen, and that uncertainty troubles me and disturbs me to no end. So we must hear, we must chant, we must remember God, and then we hear that he is sure to become fearless of death, which may come at any moment. In the statements of Shukadeva Goswami, it is said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna. Therefore, Shukadeva recommends that one should always hear about Krishna. He does not recommend that one should hear and chant about the demigods. The Mayavadis and personalists say that one may chant any name, either that of Krishna or those of the demigods, and the result will be the same. But actually, this is not a fact. According to the authorized version of Srimad Bhagavatam, one has to hear and chant about Lord Vishnu, Krishna only. So Shukadeva Goswami has recommended to Parikshit Maharaj that in order to be fearless of death, one has to hear about, chant about, and remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, by all means. He also mentions that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Sarvatma. Sarvatma means the super soul of everyone. Krishna is also mentioned as Ishvara, the supreme controller, who is situated in everyone's heart. Therefore, if some way or other we become attached to Krishna, he will make us free from all danger. This is another nice point, is that if we can accept the principle that there's a God within our heart, then we can also accept the fact that he's expanded himself into every particle of existence. He's there monitoring even so little as a blade of grass that can't move without his sanction. If we can accept that theoretically, or what to speak of even realizing it, then even more so, we become situated in complete faith that actually chanting, remembering, and hearing the Lord's holy name will make us free from all danger, because the Lord has the ability to do that, to save us from that kind of fear-based consciousness. So this is something Parmeshwar says actually all the time. Is like he has so many bodily, issues, you could say, in terms of just like overexerting himself, never sleeping enough, lifting so many heavy boxes of books. He's 60 years old in terms of his earthly body. So he's doing high intensity seva every day, nonstop, and with great enthusiasm. He just doesn't stop. So his body, gets into a situation sometimes that is, challenging to continue on. He has to give it what it needs. But he often says that Krishna has the ability to immediately bliss oneself out, to go against all logic of my body should be hurting, I should be aching right now. But actually, I feel like I'm in total ecstasy. Krishna can do that for us. So he does that to his pure devotees. He gives them that ecstasy that surpasses all kind of material designation of pain or discomfort.
Damn, Ramona, I should jump it around here.
Yeah. So
awesome.
Yeah, these things go against logic.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have someone who's so happy that appears to be, diseased, but they're always so happy. Like so many cases of devotees who are just beaming, despite what appears to be an illness that they're suffering from, or that they should be suffering from, rather, but they're not. They're totally above it. No fear, just gratitude for the chance to remember, hear, and chant about Krishna's name. Therefore, some way or other we become attached to Krishna, he will make us free from all danger. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that anyone who becomes a devotee of the Lord is never vanquished. Others, however, are always vanquished. Vanquished means that after getting this human form of life, a person does not come out of the entanglement of birth and death, and thus misses his golden opportunity. Such a person does not know where he is being thrown by the laws of nature.
Suppose one does not develop Krishna consciousness in this human form of life. He will be thrown into the cycle of birth and death, involving 8,400,000 species of life, and his spiritual identity will remain lost. One does not know whether he is going to be a plant or a beast or a bird or something like that, because there are so many species of life. The recommendation of Rupa Goswami for reviving our original Krishna consciousness is that somehow or other we should apply our minds to Krishna very seriously, and thus also become fearless of death. After death, we do not know our destination, because we are completely under the control of the laws of nature. Only Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is controller over the laws of nature. Therefore, if we take shelter of Krishna seriously, there will be no fear of being thrown back into the cycle of so many species of life. A sincere devotee will surely be transferred to the abode of Krishna, as affirmed in Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, okay. Are you going to every paragraph? Or
I'm doing two.
2 paragraphs, okay. In the Padma Purana, also the same process is advised. There it is said that one should always remember Lord Vishnu. This is called dhyana, or meditation, always remembering Krishna. It is said that one has to meditate with his mind fixed upon Vishnu. Padma Purana recommends that one always fixes his mind on the form of Vishnu by meditation and not forget him at any moment. And this state of consciousness is called samadhi, or trance. We should always try to mold the activities of our lives in such a way that we will constantly remember Vishnu or Krishna. That is Krishna consciousness. Whether one concentrates his mind on the four-headed form of Vishnu or on the form of two-headed Krishna, it is the same. The Padma Purana recommends somehow or other always think of Vishnu without forgetting him under any circumstance. Actually, this is the most basic of all regulative principles, for when there is an order from a superior about doing something, there is simultaneously a prohibition. When the order is that one should always remember Krishna, the prohibition is that one should never forget him. Within this simple order and prohibition, all regulative principles are found complete. This regulative principle is applicable to our varnas and ashrams, the castes and occupations of life. There are 4 varnas, namely the Brahmana, priests and intellectuals, the Kshatriyas, warriors and statesmen, the Vaishyas, businessmen and farmers, and the Shudras, laborers and servants. There are also 4 standard ashrams, namely Brahmachari, student life, Grihastha, householder, Vanaprastha, retired, and Sannyas, renounced. The regulative principles are not only for the Brahmacharis, celibate students to follow, but are applicable to all. It doesn't matter whether one is a beginner, a brahmachari, or is very advanced, a sannyasi. The principle of remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly and not forgetting him at any moment is meant to be followed by everyone without fail.
If this injunction is followed, then all other rules and regulations will automatically fall into line. All other rules and regulations should be treated as assistants or servants to this one basic principle. The injunctions of rules and regulations and the resultant reactions are mentioned in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th chapter, verses 2 and 3. Chamasa Muni, one of the 9 sages who came to instruct King Nimi, addressed the king and said, "The 4 social orders, namely the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas and the Sudras, have come out of the different parts of the universal form of the Supreme Lord, as follows. The Brahmanas have come from the head, the Kshatriyas has come out from the arms, and the Vaishyas have come out from the waist, and the Sudras have come out from the legs. Similarly, the Sannyasis have come out from the head, the Vanaprasthas from the arms, the Grihastas from the waist, and the Brahmacharis from the legs. These different orders of society and grades of spiritual advancement are conceived in terms of qualification. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that the 4 social orders and the 4 spiritual orders are created by the Lord Himself in terms of different individual qualities." As the different parts.
As the different parts of the body have different types of activities, so the social orders and spiritual orders also have different types of activities in terms of qualification and position. The target of these activities, however, is always the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, He is the Supreme Enjoyer. So whether one is a Brahmana or Shudra, one has to satisfy the Supreme Lord by one's activities. This is also confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam by a verse which reads, "Everyone must be engaged in his particular duty, but the perfection of such work should be tested by how far the Lord is satisfied with such activities." The injunction herein is that one has to act according to his position, and by such activities one must either satisfy the Supreme Personality or else fall down from one's position. For example, a Brahmana who is born under the head of the Lord has as his business to preach the transcendental Vedic sounds, or Shabda Brahma. Because the Brahmana is the head, he has to preach the transcendental sound, and he also has to eat on behalf of the Supreme Lord. According to Vedic injunctions, when a Brahmana eats, it is to be understood that the personality of Godhead is eating through him. It is not, however, that the Brahmana should simply eat on behalf of the Lord and not preach the message of Bhagavad Gita to the world. Actually, one who preaches the message of Gita is very dear to Krishna, as is confirmed in the Gita itself. Such a preacher is factually a Brahmana, and thus by feeding him one feeds the Supreme Lord directly.
Similarly, the Kshatriya has to protect people from the onslaughts of Maya. That is his duty. For example, as soon as Maharaja Parikshit saw that a black man was attempting to kill a cow, he immediately took his sword, wanting to kill the black man, whose name was Kali. That is a Kshatriya's duty. Violence is required in order to give protection. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna directly gave his order to Arjuna to commit violence on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, just to give protection to the people in general. The Vaishyas are meant for producing agricultural products, trading them and distributing them, and the working class, or Sudras, are those who haven't the intelligence of the Brahmanas or the Kshatriyas or the Vaishyas, and therefore they are meant to help these higher class by bodily labor. In this way, there is full cooperation and spiritual advancement among all the different orders of society, and when there is no such cooperation, the members of society will fall down. That is the present position in the Kali Yuga, this age of quarrel. Nobody is doing his duty, and everyone is simply puffed up by calling himself a Brahmana, intellectual, or a Kshatriya, soldier or statesman. But actually, such people are without status. They are out of touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because they are not Krishna conscious. Therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement is intended to set the whole of human society in proper condition, so that everyone will be happy and take profit from developing Krishna consciousness.
Lord Sri Krishna instructed Uddhava that by following the injunctions of the social and spiritual orders of human society, one can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as a result of such satisfaction, the whole society gets all the necessities of life amply and without difficulty. This is because, after all, the Supreme Personality of Godhead maintains all other entities, living entities. If the whole society performs its respective duties and remains in Krishna consciousness, there is no doubt that all of its members will live very peacefully and happily. Without wanting the necessities of life, the whole world will be turned into Vaikuntha, a spiritual abode, even without being transferred to the kingdom of God. By following the injunctions of Srimad Bhagavatam and prosecuting the duties of Krishna consciousness, all human society will be happy in all respects. There is a similar statement by Sri Krishna himself to Uddhava in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 27th chapter, verse 49. The Lord says there, "My dear Uddhava, all persons are engaged in activities, whether those indicated in the revealed scriptures or ordinary worldly activities. If by results of either of such activities they worship me in Krishna consciousness, then automatically they become very happy within this world, as well as in the next. Of this there is no doubt. We can conclude from this statement by Krishna that activities in Krishna consciousness will give everyone all perfection and all desires."
Thus, the Krishna consciousness movement is so nice that there is no need of even designating oneself Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, or Sannyasi. Let everyone be engaged in whatever occupation he now has. Simply let him worship Lord Krishna by the result of his activities in Krishna consciousness. That will adjust the whole situation, and everyone will be happy and peaceful within this world. In the Narada Pancharata, the regulative principles of devotional service are described as follows. Any activity sanctioned in the revealed scriptures and aiming at the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are accepted by saintly teachers as the regulative principles of devotional service. If one regularly executes such service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master, then gradually he rises to the platform of serving in pure love of God. I really like to mention where it says there is no need of even designating oneself Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, or Sannyasi. because these are ultimately positions we have in the material world. Like while we're here, we get these kinds of positions and occupations, but all from Brahma to the ant, um, all of their original position is a servitor to Bhagavan. So um, sometimes we get caught up in these titles and these things. I know I definitely have. And it's nice to remind yourself and remind other people that are favorable to it that everyone's original position and occupation is just to love God and serve God. So
Yeah.
I really like that mention.
Yeah.
Because
That's really nice.
people are like, oh, these guys are just dumb workers, or I'm a great Brahmana, or I'm a this, or I'm a that. And it's just nice to come to the platform of, I am just servant. We're all just servant. Even the trees and the grass and the sun and everything is ultimately just servant of God, and that's our true identity.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, and the the humble sage by virtue of true vision, the humble. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the translation. No worries. What is it? The humble
Sees with
sage.
equal vision.
Humble sage by virtue of true knowledge. That's how it goes. But the humble sage by virtue of true knowledge sees with equal vision. A Brahmana, a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, or a dog eater. So yeah, you're totally right. I mean, we're all, of the same essence, of the same quality, Satchitananda. But we also have our individuality as well. Though I'm the same as you, I come from the same place as you, I'm also different than you, in the sense that I have my own specific service to Krishna.
In the spiritual
Right.
world.
That no one else can, it's uniquely my service to Krishna.
Right.
No one else can take. And therefore Krishna, he's so anxious for all of us to go back.
Yep.
So because he can't replace any one person with another. He loves us all. And he has such opulences to equally distribute his love and appreciation simultaneously for all of his children. Whereas in this world, a mother has to prioritize, okay, if she has a little baby who needs to be breastfed, she's going to prioritize that baby a little bit more than the toddler or than the 10-year-old, who is going to school and somewhat independent in what they do in their time.
It's a good example from you.
So Krishna, and we don't have to, and therefore there's no cause for envy too, because Krishna he's equally disposed to each and every one of us. It's like he can give us all what we need at the same time. I don't know. I like to think
That's
about
great,
that.
bro. That was really good. I like the mention of the infant versus the adolescent. It's good. It's a good analogy.
Always Prabhupada. All right, we'll finish. We'll start chapter 3 tomorrow. Hare Krishna.